Have you ever said something that felt important, only to be ignored, talked over, or dismissed like you weren't even there? It's frustrating. Almost like your voice doesn't carry the weight it should, no matter how kind, smart, or well-meaning you are. I get it. Many of us were taught to be polite, humble, agreeable. But somewhere along the way, we confused respect with silence and confidence with arrogance. You're not alone if you've ever felt invisible when all you wanted was to be heard. That's why today, we turn to Stoic philosophy, a timeless guide to inner strength, clarity, and presence. Because how you speak reveals how much you value yourself. And if you don't lead with self-respect, don't expect others to follow. In this video, you'll learn 6 powerful ways to speak so people respect you. From breaking the habit of saying "I'm sorry" too often, to mastering the art of pausing, and even knowing when not to speak at all. Ready to shift the way the world listens to you? Let's begin with the first habit that quietly undermines your presence more than you realize. And hey, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a moment of real Stoic wisdom. Number 1. Ditch the "I'm sorry" habit. It happened to Anna again. She entered the meeting room slightly breathless but barely 2 minutes late. As she pulled out her chair, she whispered, "Sorry." No one responded. The conversation kept flowing, as if she hadn't spoken at all. Later that day, a colleague accidentally bumped into her in the hallway. Without hesitation, Anna said it again. "Oh, sorry, my fault." But it wasn't. She had just been standing there. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many of us have been conditioned to lead with "I'm sorry." Even when we've done nothing wrong, we apologize for existing, for taking space, for being human. It's meant to show humility, but in reality, it often erodes our presence. Anna didn't notice how much she was shrinking herself until the day her manager gave feedback on her performance review. "You're excellent at your work," he said, "but you need to stop apologizing for being in the room." That hit her harder than any critique ever could. From a Stoic perspective, this is more than just a speech habit. It reflects our relationship with self-respect. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In that moment, Anna realized the words she used weren't just sounds, they were signals. Signals that shaped how others perceived her, and more importantly, how she perceived herself. The Stoic path doesn't teach arrogance. It teaches inner dignity. When you apologize without cause, you're unconsciously saying, "I don't believe I deserve to be here unless I ask permission." Instead of reacting with default guilt, Stoicism invites us to pause and reflect. Is this something I need to apologize for? Or am I just trying to avoid discomfort? Once Anna began asking herself that question, everything changed. Instead of saying, "Sorry, I'm late," she started saying, "Thank you for waiting." Instead of "Sorry for speaking up," she began with, "I'd like to add a thought." The words were small, but the shift in her energy, unmistakable. Even the great Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught this lesson in self-respect. Born a slave, he was not a man of high status or privilege, but he once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And part of mastering yourself means mastering your voice, choosing not to speak from weakness when strength is available. Think of your words like currency. Each "I'm sorry" is a coin you spend. If you give it away too easily, it loses its value. But when offered sincerely and rarely, it carries weight. If you find yourself stuck in the sorry spiral, here are a few Stoic actions you can take today. Whenever you're about to say "I'm sorry," pause. Ask, is this truly my fault, or am I just uncomfortable? If it's discomfort, choose clarity over apology. Instead of "sorry for the delay," try "thank you for your patience." Keep a small journal. Each time you say "I'm sorry," jot it down. Review it at the end of the day. This builds awareness, and Stoicism begins with awareness. Practice replacing sorry with gratitude or intention. Say, "I appreciate your understanding." Say, "Can I share a thought with you?" These small substitutions build a quiet form of respect, one that honors both yourself and the listener. For the long term, commit to this. Speak only when your words reflect your values, not your insecurities. That's the Stoic way, to live in accordance with nature, which includes speaking with purpose and presence. Anna didn't become louder, she became clearer. She didn't fake confidence, she built it, one mindful sentence at a time. What began as a reflexive habit became a conscious choice. And the change? Colleagues started listening. Interruptions faded. Her words held weight. That's the power of Stoicism, not in grand gestures, but in daily courage. When you stop apologizing unnecessarily, you send a message. I am here. I belong. I will speak when I mean it. And that message earns more respect than 1,000 sorries ever could. Number 2, set boundaries and stick to them. Are you brave enough to say no today without feeling guilty? Not just once, but every time someone asks for your time, your energy, your attention, and you know deep down it's too much. Can you draw a line and keep it, even if it makes someone uncomfortable? That's your challenge. Most people can't do it, not because they're weak, but because they've been trained to believe that kindness means being endlessly available. But here's the truth. Being endlessly available doesn't make people respect you. It makes you disappear. It starts small. Someone asks for just a quick favor. You say yes. Then it happens again and again, until suddenly you're staying late, skipping lunch, or canceling your own plans just to keep the peace. And the worst part, you're not even sure they notice or care. This is where Stoicism steps in like a calm but firm voice of reason. It reminds us, you don't control what others ask, but you absolutely control what you accept. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's self-respect in action. Let me tell you about Luis. Luis was a teacher. Passionate, generous, always willing to help, but he was exhausted. Every day students asked for extra time. Colleagues dropped tasks on his desk last minute. He couldn't say no because he didn't want to disappoint anyone. One afternoon, his daughter called during his planning period, asking him to come to her school recital. He said, "I'm sorry, sweetie, I've got a ton of things to do for work." She paused, then quietly said, "You always do." That evening, Luis sat alone in his car and realized the truth. He was saying yes to everyone but the people who mattered most. He wasn't being kind. He was being afraid. The next day, he changed. He created a new rule: no last-minute meetings after 4 p.m. He started blocking time for lunch and kept it. And he told his coworkers with calm confidence, "I want to help, but I also have limits. Let's plan better next time." Some were surprised, some were even annoyed. But something else happened too. People started respecting his time. And so did he. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but what if they get upset? They might. You're thinking, what if they think I'm selfish? They could. But I also know this. If you don't value your time, no one else will. I know it's hard. You might feel guilty. You might second-guess every choice. But I'm here. I see the effort you're making. And I promise, every time you hold the line, you're reclaiming your life. Here's your Stoic strategy. Today, choose one area of your life where your boundaries feel blurred. Maybe it's a friend who only calls when they need something. Maybe it's a boss who messages you after hours. Maybe it's yourself, saying yes when your body's begging for rest. Pause, breathe, then decide what is within my control. From there, take one small, clear action. Say, I won't be able to do that today. Say, I can help, but only if we plan it ahead next time. Say, let me get back to you after I've finished my priorities. And then, stick to it. Even when it's awkward, even when it's uncomfortable, especially then, because Stoicism teaches us that discomfort is not the enemy, compromise of character is. In the long term, create a system that protects your space. Block personal time on your calendar. Turn off notifications after 7 p.m. Set clear expectations with the people around you and stick to them. These actions aren't barriers, they're bridges to a life lived with intention. Bookmark, you've already started. Just by listening, just by considering the possibility that you deserve to protect your energy, you've taken the first step toward a stronger, clearer version of you. And if today you said no just once and meant it, I'm proud of you, because that's not just progress, that's transformation. Moving forward, you're ready. You've shown that you have the courage to speak your truth and honor your limits. And the next step? Learn the power of silence, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Let's explore that. Next. Number 3. Master the art of pausing. What if I told you the silence between your words is where your power lives? Most people are afraid of silence. They rush their thoughts. They overtalk to prove themselves. They think if they stop, they'll look unsure. But here's the truth. The person who pauses owns the room. Let's bring that to life. A moment in the courtroom. Jason was a defense attorney. Smart, sharp, respected by many, but always one step away from being truly listened to. In his early years, he used to deliver arguments like a machine gun. Rapid fire, non-stop, no room to breathe. He thought momentum would impress the judge and jury. Instead, they often looked overwhelmed, unmoved. One day, he was assigned a mentor, an old, retired lawyer who had sat through more trials than Jason had read law books. After watching Jason deliver a brilliant but rushed closing argument, the mentor leaned in and said, "Your words were perfect. Your silence, non-existent. That's why no one remembered them." Jason was stunned, but he listened. At the next trial, he tried something new. He slowed down, he spoke, and then he stopped. He let the silence hang in the air after every key point. Not awkwardly, not fearfully, but deliberately. And something changed. People leaned forward. They weren't just hearing him, they were listening. Bookmark. Why Stoics value the pause. Stoicism teaches us to be measured, not just in action, but in speech. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." The pause is where wisdom breathes. It's where clarity replaces chaos. When you speak without stopping, you sound like you're trying to convince even yourself. But when you pause, you show that you're in control. Not just of your words, but of your emotions, your thoughts, and your presence. In a world that moves at lightning speed, the person who pauses becomes the calm center in the storm. They command attention, not by volume, but by presence. An unexpected 3-second lesson. A teacher once told her students, "Every time you're about to say something important, count to 3 in your head before you speak." Most of the class laughed, but one student took it seriously. Months later, during a school debate, that same student used this simple pause after making a point. She looked up, waited, let the silence speak. And when the panel announced the results, they said, "She didn't talk the most, but her words carried the most weight." That's the difference. Noise is heard, but silence is remembered. Try this today. Stoic speech training. You don't need a courtroom or a crowd. Try this in your next conversation. When someone asks you something important, pause. Look them in the eye, breathe, and then speak slowly, deliberately. When you're explaining an idea, pause after your key point. Let it land. Let them feel it. At first it might feel strange. You'll want to rush in and fill the space. But if you stay with it, you'll begin to notice something magical. People will stop scrolling, moving, or talking, and start listening. The pause signals confidence. It shows that you trust your words enough not to drown them in clutter. It creates emphasis without shouting and impact without force. And in the long run, it trains your mind to slow down, to respond, not react, to stay composed under pressure, to lead without needing to dominate. That's the Stoic approach to communication. Not about saying less, but saying with more intention. Just by being here, just by reading this far, you've already chosen to slow down and reflect. And that's exactly what the pause teaches us. To stop reacting blindly. To speak when our words are rooted in clarity, not ego. You don't have to change your entire way of speaking overnight. Just begin with a breath, a pause, and let that moment of stillness become your strength. Because sometimes it's not what you say that loses people's respect. It's how you try too hard to earn their attention. Which brings us to the next lesson. How to be funny without becoming the punchline. Let's talk about humor with purpose. Number 4. Use humor without turning into a clown. It was a Friday night, and Ben found himself at dinner with friends. As usual, everyone was laughing and having a good time. Ben loved making people laugh. It felt good to be the funny one. But tonight, things were different. As the conversation turned serious, a friend shared his struggle with anxiety. Instead of sitting quietly, Ben impulsively cracked a joke about being anxious only when pizza delivery was late. The laughter was thin, awkward, forced, and Ben immediately felt embarrassed. The joke fell flat, trivializing a serious moment, making him feel more like a clown than the witty, likable guy he imagined himself to be. We've all had those moments when our jokes cross the line, not because we're cruel, but because we're uncomfortable. Humor is wonderful. It connects us, breaks tension, and brings joy. But misused humor can become a shield we hide behind, distancing us from genuine connection and respect. Initially, Ben's reaction was embarrassment and frustration. His mind raced. Why did I say that? He felt the urge to keep talking, explaining, trying to regain his footing. But then something shifted. Remembering a passage from Marcus Aurelius, Ben paused. Marcus wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, yet we care more about their opinions than our own." In that moment of discomfort, Ben understood the real issue wasn't the failed joke. It was his insecurity, the deep desire for approval that pushed him into the clown role. He asked himself quietly, "Is what others think of my humor within my control?" The Stoic answer came naturally. No, only how I respond next is. So instead of panicking, he acknowledged the misstep openly. "I'm sorry. That joke wasn't appropriate. I appreciate you sharing. It's important." With humility and sincerity, he reconnected with his friend. The conversation flowed again, deeper and warmer than before. This lesson echoes the wisdom of Seneca, who warned us clearly about excess. Everything that exceeds the bounds of moderation has an unstable foundation. In humor, as in life, moderation and timing are essential. Stoics understand this clearly. Humor should be a tool to enhance connection, not a mask to hide vulnerability. When jokes become excessive or insensitive, they weaken relationships instead of strengthening them. Think of humor like seasoning in cooking. Used wisely, it enhances flavor, making the meal memorable. But pour in too much salt, and the whole dish becomes inedible. Likewise, humor must be sprinkled thoughtfully, not indiscriminately. The aim is to nourish relationships, not overpower them. Bookmark. Practical Stoic strategies you can try today. First, before making a joke, pause briefly and ask yourself quietly, what's my intent here? Am I aiming to connect, or am I just uncomfortable? Stoicism teaches us mindfulness, and humor benefits profoundly from awareness. Next, practice holding space quietly when conversations turn serious. Instead of deflecting tension with humor, simply listen. Observe your urge to joke, then gently resist it. You'll realize silence can build stronger bonds than forced laughter. Finally, commit to a daily reflection. In the evening, ask yourself, did I use humor authentically today, or was I hiding behind it? The Stoics kept daily journals precisely because reflecting helps us live deliberately. For lasting growth, aim to cultivate genuine self-confidence rooted in virtues, not superficial humor or external approval. Over time, you'll naturally become less reliant on jokes to prove your worth. Authenticity will become your hallmark. After that evening, Ben's perspective changed profoundly. Humor didn't vanish from his life. Instead, it found its rightful place, balanced, intentional, sincere. He became known not only as the funny friend, but as someone who understood when and how humor best served genuine connection. From embarrassment to empowerment, from a clown to a friend people genuinely respected. This was Ben's Stoic journey, and if he could master that, so can you. Remember, true confidence never hides behind humor. It stands clearly in the open. That's the Stoic power of humor. Measured, meaningful, authentic. A single shift in perspective turned an uncomfortable situation into an insightful lesson. You too can master this balance. And speaking of words, sometimes it's what we don't say that earns respect. In fact, knowing when to hold our tongue might just be our greatest strength. So let's move forward and explore precisely that. The Stoic wisdom of knowing when silence is golden. Number 5. Drop the gossip. Have you ever noticed how quickly a casual conversation can spiral into gossip, and later leave you feeling uneasy, wondering, why did I say that? It's a common scenario, isn't it? You're chatting with coworkers, neighbors, or even family members, and suddenly someone's name comes up. Before you know it, you're sharing details, opinions, speculations, things that you wouldn't want said about yourself. You didn't plan to gossip, yet somehow it happened. But have you considered how these seemingly harmless conversations might be shaping the respect others hold for you and the respect you have for yourself? Bookmark. Let's analyze this issue with Stoicism. The Stoics taught something profoundly simple about speech. If your words do not build trust or contribute positively, they're better left unsaid. First, let's consider, why do we gossip in the first place? Typically, it's because it feels good momentarily. It creates a false bond with others through shared secrets or criticisms. But Stoicism pushes us to ask, is gossip within my control? Yes, absolutely. Therefore, it's something we must take responsibility for. Gossip often arises from a deeper discomfort, insecurities, boredom, or a need for validation. Stoicism teaches us to turn inward first and examine our intentions carefully. Before sharing information about others, pause and reflect. Am I sharing this out of genuine concern, or am I seeking attention, approval, or validation? If we honestly examine our motives, most times we'll recognize gossip for what it is, an unnecessary indulgence that undermines our integrity. Imagine you're at work and someone begins talking negatively about a colleague's mistake. Instead of joining in, you remember the Stoic principle. Focus on what you control. You don't control that colleague's behavior, but you control your response. In that moment, you gently redirect the conversation by simply stating, I don't think it's fair to discuss this without him here. This isn't judgmental or harsh. It's straightforward and respectful. At first, colleagues may feel surprised, but soon something powerful happens. They recognize your integrity. They trust you more. You gain their respect, not by gossiping, but precisely by choosing to rise above it. When we gossip, it's as if we're gathering storm clouds, darkening the sky around us. Temporary curiosity and excitement may arise, but eventually, heavy rains fall, damaging relationships and reputation alike. Instead, by choosing respectful silence, you become sunlight, brightening, not dampening, every interaction you have. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus advised clearly, let silence be your general rule, or say only what is necessary and in few words. Similarly, Marcus Aurelius, one of history's wisest Stoics, reminded himself daily, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. These ancient wisdoms directly address gossip. Be strict with your own speech and tolerant of others' imperfections. The greatest respect comes to those who consistently speak with integrity and restraint. Have you ever regretted words said about another? Have you felt that uncomfortable tension after gossiping? You're not alone. Most of us have. But Stoicism reassures us, we can always choose differently. You're not trapped in past patterns. You can begin again, right now. Yes, it might initially feel awkward. Friends and colleagues may notice you pulling back from conversations you previously enjoyed. But remember, respect grows from integrity, not idle talk. Bookmark. Here's your Stoic strategy for immediate practice. First, starting today, become intentionally aware of your conversations. When gossip begins, gently excuse yourself or change the topic. Practice phrases like, I'm not comfortable discussing that. Your respectful clarity sets healthy boundaries for everyone involved. Second, when tempted to gossip, immediately ask yourself inwardly, is what I'm about to say kind, necessary, or true? This powerful Stoic filter instantly clarifies whether your words serve genuine value or not. In the longer term, try journaling briefly each evening. Reflect honestly. Did I speak with integrity today? Write down situations where you resisted gossip successfully and celebrate those moments. Over time, Stoic reflection strengthens your character, gradually eliminating the urge to gossip entirely. Gossip doesn't strengthen bonds. It weakens your character. Choose your words carefully, intentionally. Become the person others trust to speak thoughtfully and respectfully. By dropping gossip, you elevate your dignity and earn genuine respect. Next time you're tempted to gossip, pause and consider, does what I'm about to say reflect who I truly want to be? Remember, your words create your world. And now, as we speak of choosing our words with greater care, have you considered the power of silence? When faced with important conversations, when might staying silent serve you better than speaking? Let's explore this profound wisdom together in our next principle. Number 6. Know when to stop talking. It was a team meeting on Monday morning, and Rachel was ready. She had rehearsed her pitch the night before, went over every detail, and even prepped answers to every possible question. When her turn came, she spoke with enthusiasm, clarity, and then she kept going. What started as a sharp, confident pitch turned into a ramble. She added facts no one asked for, rephrased the same point 3 different ways, and started answering questions that hadn't even been raised. By the time she finished, the room was silent, but not in a good way. Her colleagues looked confused, not convinced. Her manager smiled politely but didn't say much. Later that day, a colleague pulled her aside and said gently, "You had them at minute 2. But by minute 10, they were gone." What went wrong? Rachel knew her content. She was prepared, but she didn't know when to stop. In Stoic terms, she let her ego and her anxiety take the wheel. She wanted to impress. She feared being misunderstood, so she filled the silence with words, hoping more would mean better. But as the Stoics teach us, excess is the enemy of excellence. Stoicism is about control, especially self-control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let your speech be brief, and as far as possible, composed. Speak only when necessary." That's not about being passive or withholding value. It's about delivering with precision, trusting that your words, when chosen wisely, can stand on their own. After that meeting, Rachel reflected on what happened. She realized her urge to keep talking didn't come from confidence, but from fear. Fear of being misunderstood, overlooked, dismissed. The next week, she tried something new. She prepared the same way, but this time she built intentional pauses into her talk. She said her key points, then stopped. She left room for silence. She allowed others to ask before answering, and the difference was immediate. People leaned in. They listened. They responded. She didn't say more. She said better. And the room remembered what she said. Think of your words like pouring water into a glass. If the glass is already full, pouring more doesn't help. It spills over. The message is lost. But when you pour slowly and stop at the right time, the water stays. It's useful. Knowing when to stop speaking is how you avoid overflowing the glass. The Roman statesman Cato the Younger, a known Stoic, was famous for his restraint. In the Senate, he was respected not because he spoke often, but because when he did speak, it mattered. He was known to pause, even in intense debate, allowing silence to do what shouting never could. Command respect without force. Cato once said, "I only speak when it improves the silence." A powerful reminder for us all. Next time you're in a conversation, whether at work, over dinner, or in a casual chat, practice the power of the pause. Make your point, then stop. Resist the urge to keep going just to fill the space. Trust that your silence can carry just as much weight as your words. If you're pitching an idea or sharing a thought, pause for a breath after a strong sentence. If someone doesn't respond immediately, don't panic. Let the silence be part of the message. This builds clarity, confidence, and trust. For deeper practice, try journaling after conversations that didn't feel right. Ask, did I speak with purpose? Did I stop when my point was clear? Awareness builds mastery. In the long term, work on detaching your identity from how much you say. Stoicism invites us to be guided by what we say and why. Words are tools. They're meant to build bridges, not walls of noise. Rachel's shift didn't require her to be louder, smarter, or more expressive. She simply learned the discipline of enough. By learning when to stop, she became a better communicator, a more confident leader, and someone people listened to, because they knew she wasn't wasting their time. That's the power of Stoicism. From over-explaining to intentional expression, from talking at people to speaking with impact. You can do the same. We began this video with a simple but powerful question. Why do some people speak and instantly command respect while others are overlooked? Now, after exploring the 6 Stoic principles of powerful communication, the answer is clear. Respect is not demanded, it is cultivated from within. From eliminating needless apologies to setting boundaries, embracing pauses, using humor wisely, avoiding gossip, and knowing when to stop, each step has led you closer to becoming a person whose words truly matter. When you apply these Stoic insights, you don't just become a better speaker, you become someone others trust, admire, and listen to. Because self-mastery always leads to influence. So here's your challenge. Choose one principle from this video and apply it today. Watch how your presence shifts, and remember, you already have what it takes to earn respect. Just speak with purpose. If this video helped you, don't forget to subscribe to Stoic Spirit and turn on the bell so you won't miss the next lesson. Drop a comment below with the principle that hit you the hardest, or simply say, "I liked this video," if you're not sure what to write. Your feedback helps us grow, and your voice matters here. Until next time, stay grounded, speak wisely, and live with intention.